There are many myths about childhood sexual abuse, and therefore a lot of misunderstanding. I'm going to walk you through 10 of those common myths about childhood sexual abuse in this message, so stay with me. Hi, my name is Bruce. I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and I'm a Christian. You may not hear those two statements together all that often, especially from a male, and probably that's even rarer in church life, of which I've been in senior leadership for a couple of decades. So these messages are about bringing awareness, healing, and recovery to all victims of sexual abuse, but especially males. It's about going from victim to survivor to thriver. Before we get into this content, I need to advise you of my disclaimer. I am not a medical professional, but what I intend to share is what has helped me over the years. Like myself, you need to determine what you feel is helpful and suitable for you. So this message is about some common myths about childhood sexual abuse. I'm going to walk you through 10 of those. Number 1, it doesn't affect children if they were very young, or it wasn't violent or too bad. If there is any awareness from a person of sexual abuse when they were younger, or even as an adult, then there are effects. The recollection itself confirms that. As far as if it wasn't too violent or too bad, that too is incorrect. Most people would agree that any form or level of abuse is wrong. The fact that that may have happened to a child does not make it any less bad or impacting. Number 2, it doesn't really affect people if it only happened once, or by only one perpetrator. Ask any victim of crime that if it only happened once, did it make it less traumatic? Why do some people disregard that level of impact because it happened to a child? And if there was only one perpetrator, why does that make it less bad than perhaps if there were multiple perpetrators or assaultees? Number 3, the adult may not be able to remember any childhood abuse, therefore it probably didn't happen. Having an adult who may not be able to remember any childhood abuse at that moment does not mean that it never happened. If you're having a conversation about this issue, then unless it's for academic or research purposes, it could indicate that there is something there. It's not exactly standard dinner party conversation. Neither am I suggesting that almost every adult may have been abused just because they may not have any recollection. For many adults who were sexually abused, it is quite common for those traumatic memories to be suppressed or blocked, sometimes for decades, and that was the case for me. Something later in life can trigger those repressed memories. Number 4, it wasn't abuse if it felt good. This myth can make me quite angry for a couple of reasons. One is that childhood sexual abuse is a topic that most people have difficulty talking about or acknowledging. It's a horrendous crime, so it makes sense that some people may try to minimize the harm if there appears to be no real harm, because it didn't feel bad to the victim. Secondly, this myth upsets me because it shows the blinkers in people's understanding of the human anatomy, particularly around our sexual organs. If someone cuts themselves, they will bleed. That's an automatic physical response. If you touch or stimulate a person's sexual organs, it will create a pleasurable response. That's an automatic physical response. Number 5, it happened in childhood, so it doesn't come into my adult ideas and concepts of my gender identity. Oh, it does not stay in our childhood. It does come into our adult lives. It's in our adult lives, or more so in our adolescent years, that we typically develop our ideas and concepts around sexuality, ours and that of others. Whether a person is aware of their past abuse or not, their identity and those understandings will have been coloured by such abuse. Number 6. Once we learn about abuse and its effects on us, it's dealt with and the impact goes away. Let me pose this question. If somebody has a physical impairment and gets to fully understand the nature of that and how it may now affect them, does that make it any less impacting on them? They will still have the impairment. Certainly for a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, coming to understand how it has affected a person is a vital tool in working through recovery, but it does not undo the damage. Number 7. It will all go away one day as if it never happened. As is common with many physical scars on our body, abuse scars can fade over time. With abuse, as someone works through their recovery, those impacts and effects can fade over time. But as I remark to some people about my own recovery, I still walk with a bit of a limp sometimes, which I may perceive in myself or others may catch a glimpse of from time to time, even if they don't know what they're seeing. Number 8. Victims become perpetrators. Well, confession time. Here's another thing that makes me angry, because it can hinder a person's recovery if they become fearful about becoming a perpetrator themselves. It can place fears in their mind and constrain healing. That notion that fact comes from misrepresented criminal data, which is often stating that most sexual offenders were themselves victims. What that doesn't clarify is that most victims do not offend. Number 9. All perpetrators are male. That is being proved untrue in our media more and more. We are seeing more females or women being charged and convicted of sexual abuse crimes against children. However, the majority of perpetrators of childhood sexual abuse are male. Number 10. Men who abuse boys are gay and women who abuse girls are lesbian. Sexual abuse has very little to do with sex or sexual preferences from the abuser's perspective, if they were able to or willing to articulate that. But of course the outcome of abuse is of a sexual nature. Whilst many men do abuse boys and women do abuse girls, I've read reports and articles on men who identify as gay yet abuse girls, men who identify as heterosexual but abuse boys, and for female perpetrators there are similar incidences. So those are 10 common myths about childhood sexual abuse. Now, I have a Bible verse I would like to share, but not in a way that some well-meaning Christians may do so. That's where they throw out a verse to you and say, there, that's what God says, that should fix you. This verse is from John chapter 8, verse 32, which says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Now here's a mini Bible lesson here. That verse is often quoted by itself and sometimes then used out of context. I know I've just quoted it myself, but let me put it into context for you. Jesus was talking with the Jewish leaders of the day and explaining the things of God, the truth about God and who Jesus was. It is that truth he was talking about. He was saying, when you understand that truth, who Jesus is, then that is what will set you free. The bigger picture here is that when we understand more about God, about truth, then that is what can set us free. That's what can help us. So when it comes to childhood sexual abuse, when we understand more about it, the truth about what really happened and how it affects people, that truth, that knowledge can help in helping people and survivors and help others to help others. As this is the purpose of this YouTube channel, BG Down Under, I wish to bring awareness, healing and recovery for survivors and to bring support to those wanting to help others in the area of childhood sexual abuse. I hope this message helps in that process. In addition to other content like this, I wanted to make you know and be aware that I have an introduction clip and also my personal testimony. I encourage you to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you are notified when additional content is available. I hope you join me again soon.